What's going on, guys? Josh here from Moment Productions, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to access some of the best tools and functions in your camera. These tools are going to help you out with gauging focus, exposure, and composition. Now, before we get started with today's video, I do want to give a big shout out and thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. For those of you who don't know, Skillshare is an online learning community where you can pick up new skills, new hobbies, and just learn a ton of new things. They don't work like other traditional sites. You don't pay per course. Instead, you just sign up with a membership fee and you get access to all of these courses. For example, you can access things like math courses, filmmaking courses, cooking courses, so on and so forth. As for me, I did sign up to their cooking courses. I've stated this in my last couple of videos, and I'm learning how to bake a pizza from scratch. I love food so much, just as much as I do filmmaking. So if you want to learn new hobbies, new skills, Skillshare is the place to learn all of those things. If you're interested in Skillshare, go ahead and check out the link for it in the description box below. And the first 500 people who use my link will get Skillshare Premium for free for 2 months. All right, with that being said, let's get on with the video. So this is what our shot looks like right now. As you can tell, there are so many things wrong with this shot. The composition is off, the exposure is off, and so is the focus. So we're gonna go over some quick tools that are gonna help you gauge the exposure, focus, and composition. Let's first talk about focus. Focus is one of the easiest things to check because of the functions that we have built into our cameras and in our monitors. Today I'm using the Aperture VS5X monitor, and it comes with a ton of cool features that you would love to use on a professional set or on any other run and gun set. So first, let's talk about a tool called focus peaking. Focus peaking is a tool that allows you to check focus. And we're just gonna press this button on the side here of the monitor, and if you notice, it's gonna turn some of the edges of the subjects here yellow. And whatever is going to be highlighted in yellow, that's what's going to be in focus. So as you can see here, as I turn the focus dial on the lens, things go in and out of focus. And whatever is highlighted in yellow is in focus. So that's the beauty about focus peaking. It's a very simple tool that you can constantly leave on without it interrupting your shooting. And with the VS5X, you can actually control the intensity of the focus peaking. I like to keep it on maximum. And if you're using a Sony Alpha camera like I am here, this is the Sony A7S, you can go into the menu settings and adjust the focus peaking. If you turn on manual focus on your lens, you should be already getting focus peaking, but you can also change the colors and you can change the intensity of the focus peaking. As I mentioned earlier, I like keeping it on high. So next we're going to be talking about false color. False color is probably the best tool for gauging exposure. It will highlight things that are nearly underexposed, heavily underexposed, overexposed, clipped, and it will show you exactly what you need to gauge proper exposure, especially when it comes down to skin tones, which is usually one of the hardest things to gauge when you're looking at exposure. Now, false color is not built into our cameras. It's usually built into external monitors that you can buy. If you want to judge exposure within your camera without using an external monitor, you can use what is called a histogram. The histogram will show you where there is a spike of exposure or if there's an even amount of light throughout the frame. You can also use what is called zebras, and zebras allow you to see what exactly is overexposed or even clipped in your image. You will notice a zebra pattern over those areas. I really do recommend using false color since I think that's the most accurate way in judging exposure. So I pre-programmed one of the buttons here on the monitor to show us the false color. So I'm gonna press that button right now. And here we can see a ton of colors. Notice how on the bottom of the monitor we have a little color guide, and this will tell us what the monitor sees as underexposed, perfect, or overexposed. And this will tell us actually by step. So if something is slightly overexposed, slightly underexposed, we are going to get that highlighted. Now for skin tones, proper exposure should be around the light gray area. And if you notice here, we actually have a light gray color all over Remy's head here. That's the color you want for perfect skin tones. On Alyssa's head, we have some darker gray areas with a lot of green, which makes it seem like we are slightly underexposed. So we're gonna work on that. And the background here has a lot of reds and yellows, which shows overexposure and possible clipping. And that's footage that you can't really save. You wanna stay out of the red and yellow zone. So I'm gonna go in the back and I'm gonna try and adjust the exposure by closing up the blinds, and let's see what happens. And I'm gonna work on Alyssa's lighting as well. All right, let's see what we can do here. All right, so we significantly dropped down that exposure all the way down to the green color, which is actually acceptable. Nothing here we have in the frame is overexposed or in danger of being clipped. So that's good. Now let's rework the lighting on both Remy and Alyssa, because as you see right now, they are no longer light gray, or at least Remy isn't. They're both green and dark gray. So let's see what I can do with the lighting here. I'm using the aperture 1/2 W because it's a wide light. It provides a wide throw of light. So I'm just gonna bump up the brightness of that, and let's see what we can do here. There we go. That looks great. So now we have gray on both Remy and Alyssa. I'm gonna go up a little bit more. And as you notice, it's beginning to turn pink. So that's going into the lighter grayer areas, which is perfectly fine. Nothing is overexposed yet. I'm gonna go up even more. And that's the light gray that we actually want. So as you notice, the color guide here has a bunch of gray. So you wanna make sure that you're in the lighter gray side rather than being on the darker gray side. And as you notice, we have a little bit of greens on the false color. That's perfectly fine. I mainly want to focus on skin tones here and the background because I want this interview lighting to look good. So let's take a look at the frame without false color. I'm gonna turn it off. Boom. Oh man, that looks beautiful. Very nice. Obviously, there are some things in the background that I want to move out of the way, but this is just a little demo shoot that I wanted to show you guys. So now we're going to be talking about composition and aspect ratios. So each filmmaker is different. Some people like to shoot in 4:3, 16:9, 1:8:1, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to be showing you how to turn on the markers that are going to be guiding you on how to properly frame up for those types of aspect ratios. Also, another important guide is the center mark guide, and I'll show you how to enable that on both a monitor and on your camera. All monitors are very similar, so hopefully me showing you how to do it on this aperture monitor, you'll be able to do it on the one that you have at home. Now, if you notice, we have some weird things poking out in the background. We have part of a clock right here. We have a glass case on the side here. We have the sofa. A lot of this can be fixed with proper management of your set, or it can be zoomed in post and cut out. But for the sake of this video, some of it might be left in. But if you notice, Remy is slightly more off center than Alyssa is, or Alyssa is more off center than Remy is. There's more space on Remy's side than there is on Alyssa's side. So what we're gonna do, I automatically know that I need to frame up a little bit more centered. So how am I gonna do that? I'm gonna engage the center mark on my monitor. So I'm gonna go into the menu settings. I'm gonna go down to mark, and I'm gonna engage the center mark. So that's turned on, and while we're here, I'm gonna turn on the safe area. And this safe area is going to help us out with our aspect ratios. So here we can see our safe areas. We have 1661, 133.1, and then we just have 90% of the frame, 80% of the frame, 70%. I'm gonna actually stick with 1:8:1. I'm pretty happy with that aspect ratio. And if you notice, if we stick with that aspect ratio, a lot of that clock gets cut out, and that's what we want. And when we exit out of the menu, we can see a little center mark here, and this is going to be the center of our frame. If you notice, the cross is closer to Remy than it is Alyssa. So I'm gonna quickly reframe so that everybody in this shot, and by everybody I mean Remy and Alyssa, are properly centered. So I'm just gonna actually slightly, okay, right there seems about right. They both have very similar amount of room on the ends of the frame. Remy is wearing a shirt and he has a sleeve covering up his arm, so he has slightly less space, but overall it's ideally the same. And just another quick tip, guys, you can actually use the rule of thirds grid within your camera to actually get perfect composition every single time. That's what I recommend you using when you're using the grids in your camera. You can't beat the rule of thirds. You can also engage the aspect ratios just like you can on any other monitor. All you have to do is go into your settings, which is the gear icon, and turn on those features. So those are some useful built-in tools in your camera and monitor. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comment section below. Also, make sure you're subscribed with those notifications turned on, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!